Hey guys, so I wanted to present what you guys are going to be working on this week. So if you haven't already, you need to watch my announcement. So that was in the announcements of Canvas, and it was a YouTube video kind of like this where I showed you the schedule for this week. So make sure you watch that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, okay, and introduce you to this project. Okay, so this is called a photo essay, and it's basically telling a story with a series of photographs, okay? So the idea here is that you are going to tell a unique story, and you're going to tell it through a series of images. You're going to plan and then shoot, and then you're going to upload your 8 photos of an event or a person to tell a coherent or captivating story. Something current in your life and that you want to share with the world, okay? So what is a photo essay? It's a story told through a sequence of events or actions. They may follow an individual person or an activity over a period of time. It could be a short event. It could be, a sequence over time, over years, over months. But you usually tell it within an order. Okay, so the new challenge for you in this is that you're going to be taking several images that work together and that tell a story beginning, middle, and end. Up until this point, you've just been taking one image or several unrelated to a story. So this is kind of different for you. Okay, your photo essay must include at least 8 photos, fully edited. You can use Lightroom on your iPad or your phone. So again, if you haven't watched the announcement, make sure that you do, because I review what the Lightroom app looks like and how to shoot in professional mode. And that's how you should actually be, taking your pictures in that manual professional mode. So this photo essay, these 8 photos, it's not just 8 random photos. There's actually a formula that was created by, that was my baby in the background, Life magazine. And this is the formula that they give their photographers about when they go and shoot at a certain location and they're covering an event. They say, get these kinds of shots. And so you'll see too that the examples that I give you, they actually try to get several of a shot that could work within that, title or category. Because then, their editor in chief could be like, okay, this shot or this shot, like out of all the hundreds of pictures they pick, but they're shooting with that formula in mind. So they're shooting with a variety of distances from the camera to the people, different angles, high, low, focal lengths, while documenting an event, a theme, or a story. Okay, so here we're going to look at some examples, and these are all from a series called Country Doctor. So it's a doctor who lives out in the country, and he's servicing, and he's the only doctor in the area servicing a community. And it was for Life magazine, and it's from the photographer W. Eugene Smith. Okay, so the very first shot that you're going to get is what's called an establishing shot. It's also called an introductory shot, an overall shot, and it's a shot taken from a distance to establish where we are and the scene, and it provides a sense of place or environment to give the viewer an idea of where the story takes place. Okay, so here we see that this photographer went all the way up, probably on a hill that's on the other side of this town, to show us that here's this small town. This is all that exists there. This is their city, and then here are the outline, houses. And notice it's just like in this mountain range, and there's no other. It's not a city. They're not surrounded by anyone. It's telling us this context of, where this is actually happening. So do you have a drone? Do we have a huge mountain and round lake that you can, go up and show? No, but you'll see my establishing shot in a minute. But it's supposed to be far back and to give you a lot of information. It should be considered long, like, public distance, like you're really, really far away. You're not in intimate conversation with someone. You're really, really far back and you're trying to get a lot of information. Okay, the next shot is called a medium shot. And in film school, I learned a medium shot was from the waist up. So it's not a close-up. okay, but it's kind of like all the way back here from the waist up, in terms of distance from the camera. And usually a medium shot focuses on an activity or just one person. And so we see a couple. Again, remember, this photographer is trying to get a medium shot, but he might take several different medium shots, and then the editorial might use one of them. So here we see our doctor, okay, a couple medium shots of the doctor. Here we can just see how exhausted he is. I just love this. Like, you know, you ever had that moment where you're staring off because you're just so tired while you're doing something? Next, we have a close-up, and a close-up could be, you know, here we see the doctor's toolkit, and they actually like laid it out and then showed like everything that he has to carry around with him because he's the only one, and he has all the supplies that he would ever need for whatever kind of situation. You know, there's no specialist in the area. So it's one element. It could be really close up of a person, like really close up, okay, or it could be of just somebody's hands, or an intricate detail of a building. If it's like, you know, this like building's going to be destroyed, and like this is the last picture of, you know, this. So again, this is an example of a close up. Sometimes it's called a detail shot. So it doesn't really care a lot about the place or the setting, but it does bring up some kind of specific detail and drama to the story. Next, we have the portrait of, you know, what's going on. So usually it's either dramatic, it's usually a tighter shot of a person in his or her environmental setting. So again, this photographer took a couple portraits of this doctor, and we can see he's getting really close up to what he's doing. So this poor girl obviously just had stitches. This kid, who the heck knows? It looks like he's getting something out of his hand. But you can just see how patient and focused he is, no matter what kind of patient he's working with. Next, we have an interaction, and this is people conversing or in action. This can be either a tight headshot or a more environmental portrait in a context relevant to the story. As mentioned above, photo essays are built around characters. You need to have a good portrait that introduces the viewers to the character. Always shoot a variety of portraits, some candid and some posed. So candid meaning they aren't posed. It's like they're actually like in the midst of doing something. They were washing dishes or blah, blah, blah. And we call that a candid because you're just kind of catching them in the moment, versus posed meaning like, you know, maybe you do have that. Maybe you're like doing a dance and you're like, hey, you know, pose like this and take their picture. So there's, you know, a couple different kind of interactive shots you could get. In this one, there's tons of examples of interactive from this series. Him obviously being a doctor is working with lots of different patients, and they even got a couple, this photographer actually got some with his own family, right? Like here he's like in the midst of working with these people and all these, you know, medical emergencies, and here this is like, whoa, here's this guy, you know, with his family, and he has time for that. And then here too, it's just like you can tell something's going on. He's on the phone with someone, you know. So these are all different examples of interaction shots. Next, a signature shot. And that's a photo that summarizes the entire issue and illustrates essential elements of the story. It's also called the decisive moment. And this might be, you know, say you're doing, so I try to give this like example, like maybe you are covering an event like a woman who's like weaving, you know, in her loom. So, and here we have the photo doctor, or the doctor in this photo series. And here we can see he's a doctor. He's in the country. He is a doctor. We can tell with his bag. We can see he's on the way to do something. And that's like a signature shot. Like, I know what he does. We can see what he's doing. Or again, here's another signature shot of like, obviously he's a doctor. He's in the midst of like helping this person. Okay. So it's like maybe almost like one picture. If I took 100 pictures and I only could use one to say this is what this person is, then these are two examples of like what a signature shot could be. Okay. Next, we have sequence, and it's like a how-to before and after, or a series with the beginning, middle, and end. The sequence gives the essay a sense of action. So again, it's like, how are you connecting all these different shots, the portrait, the establishing shot, the clincher, how are you connecting and weaving those into? So this is kind of like an action shot almost. So here we can see the doctor in action. We have someone on a stretcher. Here we have him tending to this person. So again, it's kind of like an action shot, weaving together those other shots that we're getting. Okay, and last but not least, we have the closer, which is called the clincher, and that would end the story. So it'd be the last photo that we saw in the series. Here we see the doctor heading back out and to his next patient in the rain. I love that we can still see the rain here. We can see him kind of like pulling up his coat here, like going back out, and it's kind of saying he keeps at it no matter what. We also have another one here that shows, you know, the same idea of like, no matter what time this guy's getting up, and even if he's ready or not, here he's not ready. He's not even dressed for the day. You can see that it's like either really early or really late at night. He's being called and on the phone and being interrupted. He's not even dressed for this call. So that could be an ending. Or still another example from this photographer. He took hundreds of pictures. All three of these examples could be a clincher. So here we see the doctor sleeping on his own table, telling us he doesn't even have the time or energy to make it back home to sleep in his own bed. Okay, so where do you start with this? Now that we know the 8 kinds of shots, you need to choose a subject or event. What could be happening right now? Then get to know your subject. Maybe we're following you. Maybe we're following a family member. Maybe we're following a group of people. And then you need to spend time with them if you don't already know them. And then decide like, what time is this going to take over? Is this going to be, I'm going to get this done in one day? Is this something that I'm going to be taking pictures of over break? If your break hasn't, you know, been canceled, and maybe you are still going somewhere, maybe it's like actually telling the story of where you're going and what you're doing there. Or maybe if you're not in self-quarantine, then maybe you're telling something about something that happened within a couple hours, you know? So you need to get comfortable with the people that you're taking pictures of and making sure they're comfortable with you so you can get these kind of action shots, and so they don't look posed or they don't look awkward. So you can get exactly what you want. So you need to have a reason or a purpose before you get started. And then you need to say, like, what am I trying to tell the viewer about this subject? All right. So now that you know what you're going to be taking a picture of, okay, I decided mine is going to be covering the event of the coronavirus. Surprise, surprise, because this is something that's never happened before. So you have to kind of plan out what you're going to be taking pictures of. And so here, all you're going to do is on a piece of paper, draw 8 boxes and label those 8 boxes the 8 shots. So we have introductory, medium, I think this was close-up, portrait, interaction, signature, sequence, clincher. And then you're going to just do really rough sketches of like your ideas for whatever event or sequence or story that you're going to tell. All right, and then this just kind of, this will be here for you guys to enter again if you're kind of like thinking about which is which shot. And then just like in closure, like this is the first time this has ever happened. And if somebody opened a book from a chapter in 2020 and, you know, they were looking at what happened, what kind of pictures are you taking to tell this story? You know, so what's left after, you know, during the Depression, I know that with my students, we talked about that picture from Dorothea Lange and her, you know, Dorothea Lange capturing a migrant mother and walking up to that tent and taking pictures, you know, and that becoming, you know, almost the shot is almost like the identity of the Depression. And it captures all of it, right? Like the devastation, all that stuff. And, you know, that's what's left from that time period. And that's how we remember it. How will we remember it from these photos that you're taking? Okay, so these pictures were actually taken by Miss Corcoran. She's like, oh, maybe I'm going to try to do this photo essay. So here was her signature shot, trying to get a wide shot of kind of like, you know, this is, if I had to take one picture to like sum up what's going on, the schools are closed, right? And then this is her in her home with her daughter, you know, all by herself in self-quarantine. So a portrait of kind of what her family's doing at the time. Okay, I'm gonna get out of share mode and it's just gonna be me again, maybe. Stop share. Okay, and I just wanted to show you my sketches. Okay, so I did this really terrible sketch, but all I did again was like 8 boxes, and then I did some really terrible like sketches of what, you know, if I was gonna go out and do this, I might show them to you when we get back. But my establishing shot. So I was thinking like when I went to Target and there was like 1 billion people in line outside of Target. And then like, I couldn't believe how many people were there. You know, there was like hundreds of people. So I really like this idea of like standing at the edge of the parking lot, looking in and getting like this long line of people waiting. And then all these cars here, you know, as my establishing shot saying like, we're in suburbia, Target, we're in America, because who has these stores? And this idea of like setting kind of like the tone of it. Okay. Next, I was going to do people all grabbing for, as a portrait, I was going to do everybody grabbing for toilet paper, but I decided to make that more of an interactive shot. And then doing, if I did a portrait, it'd be somebody just sitting on their couch all by themselves. You know, kind of like the tone of like, we're all in quarantine, we're all by ourselves, we're all isolated, you know, waiting for this to kind of finish up. Next I have sequence, so kind of an action shot, and this is just me vigorously, you know, washing my hands with like bubbles kind of floating off, you know, like how long you're taking, the extra precautions you're taking with this. A close-up, somebody wearing a mask, if you can find somebody wearing a mask, right? Medium shot, I was imagining these poor owners in their restaurants, which are, you know, are closed now if they're dine-in only. And just like this closed sign of like saying nobody's allowed in these public spaces anymore. Signature, if I had to do one picture that kind of summarized this whole thing was, you know, somebody wearing a mask in a store with tons and tons of stuff, and other people who are now without because there's nothing left. And a clincher shot, an ending shot would be, you know, I went into several stores and just like empty aisles, just like nothing there. Because everything's being hoarded right now. So it's only been, you know, 3 days into this quarantine, and that's kind of what I've, you know, these are some of the memories that are already stuck in my head. And this is the kind of things that I would take pictures of to like document this event. Okay. So remember to watch the announcements, okay, about Lightroom. I'm going to go ahead and actually plug in my my phone again, just to remind you about Lightroom, and you can ignore me if you've already watched it. I'm gonna share my phone. It's taking a second. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna go to Lightroom. Remember that you can go to your camera, and then I'm on pro mode, not auto. So I'm taking my photos from here. And again, if you have a phone and you're not on your iPad, you can change from JPEG to DNG, and DNG is your RAW. Okay. So I'm going to take a picture of my outside. I don't know. So I'm just taking a picture, and then I'm, you know, what do I do now that I have, I'm going to close my camera. And now here's all the pictures that I have taken. You know, how do I turn my picture in after I've taken it? I think it went from the backwards or whatever. I just have terrible photos in my, doesn't matter. Okay, I'm just gonna take any photo, it doesn't really matter. So let's say I'm turning this in as, oh, this is a terrible photo, but remember that we can go up to the share right here, and it's the arrow up, and then it says, where do you wanna share it to? Or where do you want to export your files to? So I'm going to export it to my camera roll, and now it's in my camera roll, and it's loading, but it's there. So it's going to be at the end, and now I can take this picture and I can upload it to Canvas. So we don't care about you like labeling it, because you guys are going to go to Canvas, and I'm going to stop sharing my computer screen. I'm going to share my desktop for a second. And so now you're going to be going to Canvas, and you guys are going to be, it says that you're going to upload your 8 photos here. So you don't have to worry about labeling them, because it's going to say upload your intro shot here. This is a quiz. It's called Summative Photo Essay Photo Upload. So this is where you're going to upload the photos. So you're going to upload your 8 photos depending on what kind of photo it is. And then at the very end, it says upload a photo of your storyboard sketches here. Again, just create 8 boxes on a sheet of paper, draw simple sketches, like you can see mine were really bad, for ideas, and label them one for each of the shots. And then just take a picture of the storyboard. I'm just gonna like take it right here with my photo, and then that's what you're gonna upload here. Okay. The other assignment for you guys, before you actually take these photos, is actually a quiz, and you can find that under e-learning. And it says photo essay identification. And for this quiz, again, it's just 8 pictures, and you are going to tell me, it's multiple choice. Here's a picture. What kind of shot is this? Okay, so you should be doing this after you watch this presentation, this quick quiz. So again, watch the announcement first. Right now you're watching the photo essay presentation. Do that identification quiz that I just showed you, this one right here. You're taking pictures, you're taking pictures, you're taking pictures, you're taking pictures, and then you're going to be turning in your 8 pictures via the one I just showed you, where you're just uploading it based on what picture is on the 30th. Okay, so you guys try to have an interesting break. Please email me if you have any questions. All right, so, and my hours are available on the announcements. So stay well, wash your hands. All right, bye.